You just can't believe what the weather's been like the last few days, and you can see this is the first day the trees have actually started turning orange. We're in that part of the year where, well, it's not going to be long now. You can see the leaves have already fallen by the pond, and once the leaves really start falling, we have to seal off the whole pond. Otherwise, we wind up spending half of our life in hip boots in here cleaning it out. Anyway, a beautiful day like today. I'm just going to see if anybody's up at the field. I have a very, very short day today because I have a doctor visit. But the weather, I just can't believe the weather. We have just had weather here. Look, he's giving him a kiss. That's his girlfriend, by the way. That's the female that lays all the eggs. Anyway, look at what a nice pair there, Wendy and Karen. Anyway, let's see if anybody's up the field. You just don't want to waste a day like today. You only get so many of them, and this is definitely going to be one of them. Been looking to get some new club members, but looks like the only ones we've been able to attract are the Seagulls. Now listen, guys, there's annual dues to be paid, and you have to know how to fly. I know. More tip weight. Anyway, it is a problem at this field. When the geese were here last week, and today we're inundated with what? Look at this. We got one of our Korean driving school people here. Unbelievable. They drive right out on a circle. It's unbelievable. Oh, it started out as a really nice day. It's already, we're not into it one flight each, and it's already as buffety as can be, so we're not going to get a whole lot done today. But you really get suckered in this time of year. It really looked nice this morning. Oh man, you get all excited. But that's life in this part of the country. You just never can tell when you're going to get good days, and boy, we had one not long ago. Today looked like one, but it wasn't. Come up to Rich's house and check out the new Stuka. Rich had to go to the post office, so we're going to kind of sneak up on his wife. Nobody's watching the store. Look at this. I could rob the Stuka. There's nobody within... Look at this. I could rob the Stuka. We got to wait till Rich gets back. Check out this Stuka. I guess the wife, it depends on how much of a salary you pay her. She's nowhere to be found. She's supposed to be answering the phone. The lights are off. Where's the cat? He's got his new computer going. Oh man, let's have some fun with his computer while he's got... All right, Richard. Wish we could put the lights on. Here she comes. Maybe it's scare her. Hey!
Jesus! That to me again.
Ooh, Rich is here now. Just light, this has a nice shine on it. Sand that maybe with some 400. So this is ready. Make him sand it, that's smoky. This looks real nice.
I think it's all right, huh?
Did you weigh it?
No.
Did you ever get that warp out of the wing?
There was no warp in the wing.
No, that's not what Les said. Les said he measured it with a ruler. It was out by an eighth of an inch. That nice?
Yeah. I had to put these things in here because
otherwise it gets you squeezes. Yeah, it does that. And how'd you make out with the hatch? Now, what do you got? The little adjustment in that hatch? That adjustable thing? That Bill Biles thing?
Right.
Okay.
Well, the only problem when you make a hatch, it's extremely difficult.
I got them on all my Spitfires, I know.
See, it's difficult to make them fit and match them. And
it looks easy when you see a hatch that's done.
No, it's...
When Stan Powell or something makes a hatch, it looks like an incline.
You know, this
looks pretty nice. You got the same thing for the battery, the same Knoll thing? Okay.
I got the same thing, you know, I got from Knoll.
Fillets look nice. They look like you got them pretty nice. But see what you want to do. You want to just scratch it so it's dull.
400?
400, anything. Just don't want to paint over shiny because then you don't get a good bond.
No.
Just get it dull. I'd say put a coat of silver on it.
Yeah. Now,
and just feather it out over the wing.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to spray it. And
you got the HVLP gun, right?
Yes.
The night you can tile it right down.
Yeah.
Well, this looks real nice.
See, these...
you been keeping track of the weight as you work on it, or are you just saying, well, we'll see what it weighs when it's done?
You know why? Because what am I going to do about it?
Nothing. You're not going to throw the plane away now.
Exactly. So whatever it weighs...
See, I never do this, Rich.
Never do, huh?
No, I've done that 16 times already. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, you know what this is? Moving the plane around.
Of course.
Ding,
yeah, he's got the low ceiling option like I have.
You see these elevators? There was a certain area that required some more.
You got dry. This is dry.
Right. So I put a
coat of clear on the whole thing.
I put a couple of coats.
And then just dust it. Make it rough.
Okay. And then shoot some more.
Shoot some more. Okay. And what's good, the first coat you put a silver on, you're going to sand it off. Put a little talcum powder in the silver.
Yeah.
Just
doing that. What?
Look how hot it is in back.
I know. Yeah. No, I've been doing that, Wendy.
And a little bit of talc in the silver will bring that right. You seal it right up.
And this wheel pant, I was having problems with it because it kept somehow it was splitting.
Too thin, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I put a couple of layers.
Well, what you could do is fiberglass with half-ounce cloth.
Well, I fiberglass the inside.
Oh, okay, yeah. Put a couple layers, But this looks. Why do you have that wire showing?
Well,
why don't you make a softer bend in there? I mean, the next one, obviously.
Well, you see why? Because I wanted the wheel to be directly underneath the.
Or you could make them just a little bit wider or something. That I didn't notice. That doesn't look exactly the way it should be, but
I know. It would have meant that.
I know you got to make it more. We'll make it out of 1/8" thicker material.
I wanted to make it as thin as possible.
Yeah.
And so there's always things that can be done after it's done in a different way. Good morning, Roy. Good morning on this gorgeous day.
Not if you're a flyer, it's not gorgeous.
It's windy.
Oh, we got stuck on this.
What's the matter? You can't fly the plane today?
Too windy. We looked real good early, but it got bad in a hurry.
And then we crashed it. No, we don't talk like that.
Don't even say that.
Don't mention that.
That's not even funny.
That's not even funny.
But there's some dry spots. When you see will you airbrushing this? Just go
with what? With clear?
Yeah, because when you go to paint this the camo color, that's going to come through.
It's going to come through, right.
So you got a little spot in here.
Right.
All these little spots, all the dry, it's usually where the ribs end, right here, because that's going to be a high spot. The sheeting tends to sit down.
It does.
You know? This is nice, the way you got the lead outs. That's nice and neat and tidy.
Not enough room.
Actually, the hatch doesn't look so bad.
No, it doesn't look bad, but I wanted it to be tighter.
Yeah.
And what happens is it's going to be very difficult to paint here.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what...
You got to paint the hatch off of the part.
Oh, I intend to.
You know? I mean, and then when you put it back, it's going to be too big, and just touch it. Yeah.
You see? That's the problem with hatches. But I don't know how else to do it so that you can adjust
No, you gotta have, is that body strong enough there though?
Yeah. No, that's...
Oh yeah, plenty.
In fact, this is stronger than the other one.
Plenty. No, you never know when you put a hatch there.
I've added more formants.
See, when a guy's launching a plane, you don't want to have it that his thumb is right there.
No.
You know, some of these clumsy guys,
I know.
The gorillas we have to deal with.
This one has more formants on the back of the fuselage because it's thinner. You know?
Yeah, it's more scale. This one is more scale than the other one.
This is more scale than the other one.
I think this is going to be a great plane. When are you going to shoot the Silver?
I hope to shoot it this week.
Yeah, that's going to look nice with that big cowl.
It should look good, huh?
Oh, yeah. And this is going to have the Jet 65?
Yeah, this is going to be the Jet 65.
And you already got the tank, the carbon tank?
Oh, yeah, the carbon fiber tank that I got from this guy that makes carbon fiber.
Guaranteed forever. Except if you're Jacobon.
No, you mean, what's his name, Colonel McLean?
Colonel McLean, yeah. Using diesel fuel.
He's got a problem with it.
Man.
I have no problem with mine.
Close at this guy. Look at how he's dragging his tree. This is one of our illustrious DPW guys. Check this out. Can you believe that? Your taxes don't go to waste in Bergen County, that's for sure. I've been doing off cameras. I've been doing some glue tests, various kinds of glue to hold the Nomex in an attempt to upgrade this. We've got one drying here now. Anyway, we're going to continue along that as Midgley works on his plane. He's already got the wing wall sanded out and ready for the next step. But what we're going to try to do today is we're going to try to make some parts for the tail. Just get some parts ready. We were really disappointed that we didn't get more flying this morning, but hey, that's the way it works. Found this piece of extruded aluminum in the shop, and you can see it's got 190-degree edge, but it doesn't matter. You could probably even do this by hand. What I did, I was trying to come up with I just tacked it while it was in place. This is just there to keep it straight. But what I have now, I'm looking to make the front edge of the elevators. The couple things that I'd like to do today, if the time allows, and you never know when the phone's going to start ringing. You can see how nice and straight that came out. I want to carve this piece. Now, I want to carve and hollow it, of course, and then this will be ready more or less for the dihedral brake. Then it'll be a significant, then I can start seeing what I got. But then I want to make, I guess I should do this first. I always try to lay this out so I can not have to go back and make it any harder for myself. Now, I just wanted to mention one thing. We're going to make the elevators here with this, something like this. I haven't decided what kind of a leading edge, because I really want to get this tail as light as possible, and of course that's information you can use on any design you're building. But a lot of times what I've done is I've carved the whole tip, and then I've gotten back to the elevators, and they didn't match. The elevator, when I put the horn in, went out or in, or then I had to redo it. So what I'm going to do is just save this piece after we actually have the hinges temporarily in place, and then finalize this piece. But right now we can go ahead and cut, look for the softest piece of wood we have, get out the elevators, tack glue it in place, and just rough this shape in. And that'll give me, while I'm working on that, that'll be an hour or so, I'll have some thoughts as to how I want to join the elevators to this piece, how I want to make the fixture. Remember one thing, if an elevator is tapered, and these are just slightly tapered, but if they're tapered, the one thing you can't do is build them on a flat table. You then build a warp into them. So we're going to have to come up with a little way of jacking up the trailing edge when we make this. Again, this is what I find challenging. This will be the leading edge, or something like this. And having the 16th balsa, I think we'll put the little balsa pockets for the hinges in there. We know where the hinges are going to be. We just don't know what we're going to do in terms of the horn, lucky boxes, whatever's going to happen over in that area. Come across a block of really light wood, and this is an example of something that I've already taken a piece out, but I never throw it away. I keep all the scraps in what I call my ultralight box. This is really wood that's really, really light. And now for pieces like this piece on the tail, there's going to be no structure there. I'm just looking for the lightest, softest piece of wood I can find in my scrap pile. Now we can take a little piece of Mylar, as we're making patterns for everything. This will be no exception. We'll leave this just a tad oversized, ever so slightly. And then we'll save this. And we'll do the same thing as long as we have the paper out here. We need to cut a straight edge on this. Oh, as he falls into the camera. Don't you hate when that happens? Remember, what we're trying to do is save a pattern for everything when we're all done. We'd like to have a pattern. When we cut these pieces, always good to cut them just very slightly oversized. And then shape the final shaping. Them up and we'll save them. We've been pretty much saving templates for all the stuff we have so far. We'll add this to our list of when we made the wing that Mike has now. We use the tips. We have our extra little pieces, some extra ribs, and we can give these to Mike when he's going to make his tail. But basically, the idea is to have a pattern for every piece. When Elliott Scott draws these plans up, we would really like them to be super accurate. Assuming this is a plane that is going to fly well. And because Dave Downey put so much research and development into the B-25, and this is going to be very, very similar, I have kind of high hopes. Take a block, I always make it just a little bit oversized, and when I'm all done, then I put the final few swipes of sandpaper to get the shape that I want and to get the blend. Now I figured out that this is the piece of wood I wanted to use here. You can see how much I have left over, so what I'll do first is just slice these, or not even in half, just cut this main part off with the saw. We're only going to need about half of this. That'll mean is we have that much less to carve away. We've minimized our carving. Now what I want to do is I want to get these set. I may have to true up the edge. And these are oversized by just a little bit. And it's always best, I find it's best, just to always tack these with 1 or 2 drops of glue. And if you see they're crooked, you can just block sand until you get them straight. Now I want to make sure, of course, we're perfectly straight. Another way you could do it is just lay this on a flat table, but then one side gets really minimal. I want to have a little ledge there to work with. Okay, these are ready. I got both of them done. This is ready to do the rough carving step next. It wasn't really as straight as I wanted, so I'm taking my precision block over to a flat part of the table. Just getting a 90-degree on it. That was a good time to just make sure they're even. We're not building one side an inch longer than the other. And I had a brand new blade. Let me get a center line on here. Get a brand new blade. Just a rough center line, not even one we're going to work with. Just so I can roughly see where my carve 2 point is. In fact, that's on the high side. And that's the part I want to leave flat. I don't want to carve that off. Now it's just a question of we want to work toward those lines. A brand new number 26 blade. I get the XL blades from Brodak. They seem to be really sharp. In this case, I want to work very slowly. I don't want to just go take a chunk out and have to use up another piece of my real nice soft punk wood. I don't want to take the line off. I want to leave the line on. I'll sand the line off. When the grain is coming up at you, you want to have the knife on a 45-degree angle. Something like a 45 for really for all cuts. Even around here when you're shaping. Always better to take a little bit off at a time. I call them ice shavings. Just take a sliver off at a time. And the last thing, we'll sand that last final shape on right over the plans. And we'll have to pop these off and hollow them. Always good to use your hands for the final little amount. when we go to sand this in, I'll put a piece of tape on here, but I'm just carving up and I'm leaving just a little extra material here. But when I go to sand, always good, just like a foam wing, put a piece of tape on there to protect it. And of course I want it to ultimately be symmetrical. From this point on, we want to work right down to the line, but not take it off. Just catch the edge. I don't want to thin it at this point in time. We'll do the using just really rough. I think this is 50 grit. Just to rough this out. Then I'll put the final finish on, or maybe with some 320 or 220. But being careful to look at it and keep it symmetrical, not have it walk up or walk down. Any kind of a little sanding block is helpful. I find it helpful anyway. One of the mistakes people seem to like to make is to carve a block and then try to sand it with 400 or something. It just takes forever, and then you get frustrated. This should go relatively quickly. Now we're right down to the line now. We're actually touching the line. So now the last couple of swipes, I'll take the line right off. And then looking from the front to make sure it's symmetrical. Now I can get a finer piece of sandpaper to do the final, get that final curve in it. I really want to leave just a tad extra. Actually, I should have put some tape on here, but I'm just being careful. The tape does seem to save it. It's this motion that seems to get a good blend on the curve. When you're going back and forth, it seems like you make an octagon. Especially around the front, I'd like to get that as accurate as possible. Just a question of looking from the front, making sure it's symmetrical from all angles. This motion here usually will blend the leading edge right in very, very quickly. Now we know we left about 10 or 15 thousandths of extra wood on here, so that once we hollow this out and install it back in, we can just do the final blend. Fingers. Got it. The 90-degree block will be good for taking some of this material down. Again, I want to just go slow. This is really soft wood. Now we have the rough shape. Now I'll get a brand new blade. Look at this leaving there. Oh, as I said, sometimes you don't need a blade. Yeah, I better get a blade. See, that side popped. Again, I just tacked this with the slightest amount of CA. A razor blade is the finished single edge blade. Now we could dress this edge off if we can't get it exactly the way we want it. We just dress both sides with the 90-degree block a little bit. Move that extra off. Now we have a tip, but the next step is to trace out. Boy, I'll tell you, Chickie's been stealing my pens. Trace out exactly. Now we know we have a hinge going in here, so we'll leave a little bit of extra material in the back, and we can get this down to maybe just over a 1/16. work toward the line. I can do this. Easiest way is with a Dremel tool. Work carefully. Seems like all little insignificant things until you fly that plane the first time and you pull up for the wing over, and it's either going to be something special or something very ordinary. A lot of times you need 2 or 3 different tools to get this, but a ball end mill is certainly a good way to get it started. Feel it with your finger that it's not wandering off in any direction. And like any hollowing operation, it's tedious, it just takes some time. But the end result is we'll have a part that's a fraction of what it would weigh if we didn't hollow it. A lot of times on a long part like this, we can cut it with a razor or a knife right down the middle and make clamshells. I'm going to try not to have to do that if I possibly can. Seems like with this tool I'm able to get in there quite a ways conveniently. Again, it works for any design, any plane, it wouldn't matter. What I do is I just kind of feel, and when it's starting to get too soft, then I know I can't take a whole lot more material out. Then I can kind of get the last little bit out with one of my nail files. John Pothier donated these to me. They're called Bud McKnight sanding sticks. I think Bud McKnight was the one that introduced John to these, but an excellent little way to do this. One of the things after you start using these, then you can buy them in any beauty supply place. You wonder how would you ever sand in there without them? It allows me to get a relatively nice finish on this. Not that this would really matter, but since we're building what we hope is going to be a plane that will withstand the test of time and ultimately wind up in Windy's Spitfire Museum, we'd like it to be as perfect in every way. Now, if you get, and any place where this is getting really too thin, just drop some CA on the inside. Having the CA on the inside will harden that right up. I only had time to finalize one, but the next time I get a session here, I'll work on the other tip, and then I'll start laying out how I want to make that leading edge for the elevators. But every time I get an hour or two, see, this is part of my time management. I get an hour here, an hour there, in between the mail, in between phone calls. I try to slice off little slices, little jobs, like getting a tip done, get another tip done. Then we'll get the dihedral joint in. But if I try to set aside a whole day for this, it's just not going to happen. Next time I get a chance to work, we'll have 2 tips together, and then we'll be ready to figure out how we want to do the dihedral break. That'll be the next step. And I'll do that other tip off camera since it'll be redundant. Now today I finished up the tips, and we're ready to get a kind of a final rough sanding. Made sure each part was symmetrical. They were exact mirror images of each other. And we're ready to get our dihedral break in here. Now, this is a little more complicated than you think it normally would be. Now the B25, if we didn't have any experience with dihedral brakes, this would have been the most complicated wing of all time, for me anyway. About the only brake we caught was the fact that the tail didn't have any dihedral or anhedral, but this had several dihedral brakes. And a lot of the planes, like the P-51, if you leave out the dihedral, I don't know. You know, I always really thought Al Raby's planes were like the ultimate semi-scale planes, and part of the reason was they had the dihedral. Now we have to put dihedral in both the wing and the stab and elevators. So I'm going to do a little storyboard about the things that relate to the tail, but the same pretty much would apply to the wing. I really think when you're going to do a semi-scale plane and you make that extra little effort to put the dihedral in. Now, I thought Todd Lee's plane, the one that he unfortunately crashed at the Nats, the dihedral in that plane really made it look just a little special. But again, it's a little more effort, a little more work, and there's a lot of things you can make that can be a problem if you don't think them through ahead of time. So let me put a couple of the things I've learned about doing this, a quick little storyboard. That dihedral, that is part of the reason this plane really, I felt, went to the next level. It just really, the dihedral really made it stand out, made it look realistic. Just picture this with just a flat wing. Ironing board wing, nah. When you're putting this kind of effort and this many hours, you've got to put that, at least I think you do, put that extra little effort into it. Joe and I many times have thought about and talked about the possibility of doing a Spitfire with dihedral. Well, nice to report that Joe is already working on his, I'll call it a Mark 24 wing. It's a wing he's been evolving from the Stuntress Spitfire series. And he's cranking right along, and I hope we're going to get to see that real soon. He usually pays a visit during the building season at least once or twice. Or I go down to his new shop. We haven't been there yet, so it'll be a lot of fun, and I hope he chooses to put some dihedral in. Now, a true story. I had decided to put dihedral in Miss Ashley when the first time I ever saw the drawings that Joe and Dave Downey made. The only problem was the real Miss Ashley doesn't have any dihedral. So I guess,
They built a little hut every Saturday night they do Friday.
You can see it on an 826. It's really a defining feature is that dihedral angle in the tail. We sure wouldn't want to leave that out. But here's a mistake you can make whether it's a wing or a tail, and it's something a lot of people, until they actually make the mistake, don't realize. What they do is they go to put the dihedral brake, say, in a foam wing. And what they do, they figure, well, what the heck, I only have to sand one side. Well, you know, I'll exaggerate it, but that's what happens if you only sand one side. You get twice the angle in one side, and you don't get a clean match. It's like two pieces of bologna. It doesn't really match the way it should. Now, what you really have to do is take each piece. In other words, let's just take another piece of paper. We can act tough. What you really need to do is, whether it's a tail or a wing, get a flat table, figure out how much you want to jack this edge up, and then get a 90-degree block with sandpaper. And of course we have this fantastic block that Les made, but this is just a block to die for. I just wear this out. Replace the sandpaper when necessary. But you want this to be that this edge right here is 90 degrees. Then you can just flip it over around so that each side has a 90 degree to the table, depending on how much dihedral you want. Each angle is exactly the same. And sometimes you don't think that's important. Well, on a flat tail it'd be less important, but it still wouldn't be a perfect fit around the front. So we're going to take and very accurately and carefully get this 90-degree block on a flat part of the table, figure out how high we want to raise each side of the stab, and again, that's an eyeball thing. And I know, for instance, a scale amount is not going to happen. Because what happens when you make the tail fatter, and ours is considerably fatter, you can see what happens. It looks terrible. As you make something thicker, you need to lessen the angle to get the illusion that it's the same. And Dave Downey did a lot of research into that when we did the B25, and I think we were very successful in getting the angles right. So we're going to eyeball that up. I'm going to get my 90 degree and try to get both of those angles at 90 degrees. Now we also have, and it's another thing, once you have these two pieces, you don't want to have this either, that once you sand them in, that you don't have a flat trailing edge. So as you're putting these together, it's real important to make sure you haven't made a swept forward or a swept back hinge line. And especially in our case, we don't have a lot of wood back here. We're trying to minimize the weight. But we will check it, and in fact, when I tack glue it, I'll tack glue it in a couple of spots, then lay it flat on the table with the surfaces sticking straight up to make sure I haven't put a swept forward trailing edge on it. It just gets, and this is a little drawing I made to illustrate the point, to have a flat table and to have a block that's exactly 90 degrees. Now remember, if this were 86 degrees, what happens when you reverse it? You're out double the amount. It's worth getting a 90 degree block. And again, I just keep going back to this block. As rough as this block is, and I get splinters from it all the time, doesn't matter. This is exactly 90 degrees. Yeah, I think this is the most accurate look. Now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to see just how much I can cheat this. What I'm getting at. Let me pull this down. This is the scale angle, and of course you could measure the angle, use a protractor. That would be just roughly the scale angle. Well, again, what I'm going to try to do is make it just a little bit, and I'm trying to eyeball this up, because at flat, of course, that's no good. That's halfway, and that's the full amount. So I think if we took half of the amount of degrees in there, we'll still have the illusion, and yet it won't be exactly scale. Scale, I think it's just going to be overdone, and it's going to make the lucky boxes more of a problem. They're a problem to begin with. When you really, like if you had that much dihedral, the angle of the lucky boxes, it'd be crazy. So I think just by looking at this, we're going to opt to have half of this scale amount in there, and just basically tack it together and see if we have the look that we want. Now this is going to give us 1 inch of dihedral. If I just get this, again, I won't know until I tack this together whether this is going to give me the illusion that I want. Here is, I'm adding another 3/8 because a 1/2 inch wasn't enough, and I want to add 3/8, redo the dihedral angle, and see if this looks a little better. I can actually even go back the other way if I want to, as long as I have a 90 degree block. Just tack this together to see if you can see how much less of an angle this really is. It's exactly half of the amount of what scale would be. And we'll, of course, use a little less dihedral in the wing, so this will be in proportion, it'll be right. Now once I'm happy with this, and it looks like I'm happy, I want to check that the trailing edge is flat. I haven't put a cant in it. Then we'll just run a CA seam around it and final sand it out and be ready to glass the middle. And the more I look at it, the more I look at the pictures, I've spent looked at every picture of an A26 I have just to see if I'm going to think that's the scale amount. Now I know the guys like Walt Brownell that have built scale planes, you just put the scale amount in. But in this case, I think we can still get the lucky boxes to work reasonably, because there's a point at which the lucky boxes just get out of control. And I think this is a good compromise. I think this is going to work for us and still maintain that look that we're really after. Thing is, with one side of the table bolted down, not bolted down, but well, laying flat, I want to try to pick up the middle of this. Oh, right on the money. So I didn't want to build a twist into it, because you could put your two pieces this way, but they'd be cocked that way. Now that we have that, and I'm happy with it, I need to just the lightest amount of sanding on these seams, just to get rid of any rough edge, and this will be ready to put on our half-ounce glass cloth. From looking at it from a lot of different angles, I think we got it. I hope. Again, we're going to find out. I sanded this all out nice and smooth. I don't want the glass to have any rough edges. We use some half-ounce cloth, West Systems resin. I cut the material to size. This is half-ounce glass cloth. I have an extra little strip, so just in case I sand through in spots. We're also going to have the bolts laying in here eventually that are going to hold this to the fuselage, so I want to make sure this center section is solid. Also, the way people tend to launch these big bombers, they hold the tail, so we sure don't want to have the middle of this as one of the parts that's going to be prone to failure in service. I'm using the West Systems resin, same as we use on the carbon wings. This is a great resin to use if it's your first time or second time. It just lays right down. It's made, the purpose of West Systems resin is to bond fiberglass to wood. It was originally developed for boats. You can just brush some on, it won't matter how much. Let it soak in for a minute or two. Plus we're going to basically trowel it all off, or most of it off. This is one of the areas where I really can't skimp too much on the center section here. Just not a good place. This is like gonna, the life of the plane, take a lot of abuse. I always have the glass cut. Always want to have the cloth cut ahead of time. And we'll get our little spatula out and just see how much of this we can trowel off. Whatever hairs hang off, it won't matter, they'll sand right out tomorrow, 24 hours. And you can see how much comes off. Just get some extra newspaper going here. The little extra that lays on the edge will be no problem. That'll sand right out next time we get to work on this. Now it wouldn't matter if this was the middle of a foam wing, a built-up wing, wherever you want a glass, a nose of a plane. Half-ounce glass and West resin is just very easy to use and very, very strong relative to the amount of weight it adds. I've tried to weigh the amount of weight you add to a foam wing when you glass it properly. It's 2 or 3 grams the most. You want to get it down into that trough. Now the last thing is low heat, just a little bit of heat on here. And you'll see what happens. We can get even a little more out. Just keep some newspaper around. And we want this to end, not I want it to end in a zigzag line so I don't have a stress riser because I don't know where the fuselage is going to end right now. One little band-aid piece right over the joint. The idea here is that it spreads the load out. Now I'll trowel this off. I don't want to have it end at a spot. I want it to step off gradually. I can real carefully just get the excess off. This stuff sands so nice that I don't really worry about having some threads or hairs in the way. The slightest bit of alcohol on the end of a paper towel just to feather this out. I don't want to mix the alcohol with the epoxy. Those strings will sand right out. I just want to have as much of the epoxy smoothed out as I can. This is going to have to dry overnight, and we'll come back to this tomorrow or the next day we get to work on this project. While our fiberglass is drying, a couple of things I wanted to do. As soon as this last contest of the year is over, and that's going to be a couple of days from now, we'll be done with Miss Ashley, then we have some work we're going to do. Ooh, look at this. How can you plan this? Anyway, I'm going to be putting Miss Ashley aside for, I guess, the last week or 2 of the flying season, 2 weeks, whatever. And I wanted to get out and get some more flights on this. There's several things I have yet to really experiment with. I took the cannons off, and everybody knows what a nuisance that was at the Nats. I'm just so glad that nobody got hurt or that we didn't do any damage. But now that we got this all cleaned up, now one of the things I'm going to try to do is get a little bit better starting routine. That was one of the things that I really thought I could improve. And I was thinking of another thing. Since I don't use up all the fuel, another way I can lighten this up, I can make really 4-ounce tanks and then keep these for spares. And believe it or not, an ounce of fuel in each engine, these are a little over 5. Every little bit really helps. And the other thing I was thinking about doing, haven't done it yet, is to somehow close off where these lead outs come out, carve a soft block of wood, make some kind of a hatch or something in there. Not sure how to do that yet. That's something I'm thinking about. Well, Chicky's actually helping me. But we're going to get back to flying a bomber, and that's really what we enjoyed most about the... I got to get this phone. Now that we got our phone calls under control. There's a lot of things left to be done on this plane, and the reason is I want to use each one of them as a building block. I've ordered 2 more of these engines from Rich Oliver and Dub. They're going to work on trying to get some lighter weight parts in them. Specifically, I think the cranks in the new engines are lighter. But one of the things I could do, and at this time of year, since the contests are going to be over, in fact, after this contest, the next contest will be in Texarkana, Texas. But one of the things we can still learn from this plane now, I saw some really neat wheels. I'm going to try to see if they have them in the hobby shop here, that have like the World War II treads on them, and I need to weigh them, of course. One of the things I was never happy about is the wheels on this, because I put the wheels on that make the vertical CG as close as possible and not perfect. Keep in mind, most of the weight of this plane, the motors, the nacelles, virtually everything is below the CG, so lightening up the CG is a critical thing. But I would like to have, and maybe I'll make up another set of gear wires with the scale wheels. The scale wheels have treads. I don't have them yet, but that's another thing to, basically to experiment with. It feels good having the cannons off, because every time I'd walk by back there and try to get some fiberglass cloth out, I'd get hooked on Les's cannons. So we could save those for the A26. Starting at the end of this contest, I haven't really decided what I want to do, because I have a lot of projects, you can figure, a lot of irons in the fire. I want to go see Sergio tonight down at the electric field, and that's one of the things I really enjoy. The guys that fly the electric planes, the park flyers, it's a very casual, laid back, there's no competitions, it's just fun. And I really would love to have an electric plane to fly with them, a control line electric plane. And I think that's less than a year away. And we got some even more exciting news from Noel Drindak, stuff that was published, and I'm just kind of straining at the bit here. I know Mike Palco's already done it, but I'm dying to get a plane, just so I can cross the street when nobody's over in the school, and just put in a flight and then run home. Anyway, more is coming. I think tonight we're going to run over to the electric field again. I'll see if George wants to go. George, by the way, already has an electric RC Cardinal. So maybe we'll get an update on that. I don't know if he's flown it yet. He's got it for about 2 or 3 years, but because his business was in jeopardy and he had some other problems, he really hasn't been doing a lot of flying, but give us a chance to have a nice evening with Sergio tonight. In the meantime, it's always a good idea, and I've put the tail away, it's always a good idea to let the fiberglass dry just an extra day. The longer it dries, and it powders off anyway, but if you can let it dry an extra day, why not? The neat thing about going up this field where Sergio flies, it's basically $10 a year to belong to the club, and they maintain it. There's no grass to mow, there's nothing. They come and clean everything up. It's really nice. Anyway, but all of the lessons we've learned from the B-25 we're going to try to incorporate and make the A-26 an even more exciting project, if that's possible. I'm not even sure that's possible, but I just can picture a day of going somewhere and having the 2 bombers in the back of the Wingstar. And maybe that day that's what you dream for. Dreams are always free. I just want to pan this field in case we've had this on the video before.
Drive people crazy with pan too.
Yeah, they're crazy anyway for buying videos from me. Look at this field. Now we can put a nice control line circle right in here. And here in the back already George Venturini's with me, Les is down here, and Rich is due down. And we're going to figure out how to make a control line electric plane before the night's over. I'm not so sure we're going to win though. Great, for a change, instead of saying no model planes, it says no golfing.
Came up with. I mean, once the sun is down below the tree line, he's flown a whole lot of stuff out here at quite a distance. So.
Yeah, I think that was Mike's problem, that he would get glitched when the wing went into the wrong position in relation to the sun.
But he was using it for a thing it was not designed to do. It's like an experimental thing.
Well, everything starts out as experimental.
Unless
Just
pitch it up there.
nicely.
Very
smooth
cool.
launch. Yeah. Goes right up.
That's very cool. Now, will these rise off the ground or not really?
Not
if you had
grass. The book says it will, but you
on smooth, yeah.
That they take off the ground. Yeah, according to the book, it says it'll take 1 to 3 meters to get up in the air.
Noisy, I'll tell you.
Positive angle of attack and a good headwind.
If I lived in the area, I'd be calling the police right now. Those noisy airplanes.
Hey, there are a couple of them.
I did that to a friend of mine. He was running some engines in Norman Casella. And it was a Sunday. It was Monday. I was having coffee. He sat alongside of me. I said, "Is that you running that model airplane engine in Sunday?" He said, "Yes, it was." He said, "Did it bother you?" I said, "Damn right it did. I went down to Model Store and bought an airplane."
He got you.
Or when you open a throttle, it's just deafening, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
And it's amazing the control he has. That's running in it.
Wes, you would have liked.
Cycle.
We went out to Jeff Stifles, where he's a tow line glider guy, with the where they have a winch to start them.
Yeah.
And I saw the video of him getting 10th at the Nats. Pretty impressive when they launched those gliders.
I like watching some of the free flights when we were out at Muncie.
Oh yeah, they were great. The old time ones are cool.
I'm not used to it, Richard. When I fly like that, I feel like the plane's going to drop out of the sky. I'm not used to going that slow.
You've got, what, 15 seconds of screaming motor running and silence.
There's lots of time to think.
It's probably good for learning to fly RC too.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Because nothing's happening in a real hurry here.
Yeah, you have time to think about things.
Or hand the transmitter to George. Here you go, George.
You might as well throw it up in the air, right? Yeah.
And the nice part about it is, you could put the airplane up in the air, do the whole pattern, all right, and then just slow it down, land it, and shut it off.
Yeah.
Use up the battery. You might get 2 or 3 flights on one.
That guy that's got the 18-minute battery, you could get 3 flights and have a sandwich in between flights.
But I think we'd be using a lot of juice out of the battery. The demands on the motor in the airplane, especially in the overheads and vertical stuff, be a little tough.
But now what I try to do is never limit my interest in model aviation. Actually, I don't limit my interest in life. But there's always new things to see, things to enjoy. There's always some real nice people to share the experiences with. And this group, this is Sergio's club. Just for reference, it's about I think it is $10 a year to belong here. You can fly 24/7, 365. They're in the back flying. Now we're going to wait for Sergio because again we're sold out as E-trons and we need to get more. But you should never limit your interest. There's always new things to see and do. I love seeing Jeff Stifles tow line gliders. Had never seen those before. Very relaxing, nice place to hang out, and we will be flying electric control line here. Even if we just see, it's like the Carbon Wings. Even if we just replicate the setup that Mike Palka already has, we can go fly a stunt pattern. But again, we're looking for something to be an upgrade, and of course to bring everybody on board with it as soon as we do and share the information.
The other day I almost wrapped it up. There was a ground woodchuck over there. And I went and dove at him, and I hit a puddle of water.
But I'd love to chase geese with these things. Paint one up like a falcon, with a big beak.
We had one with a crow started to attack the plane. He was
No kidding, they attacked it?
Yeah, he was flying by it, boom. He was annoyed by
I
it.
did that once in Clifton.
One
One of the guys I took a fly was on the
Yeah, I guess so.
and
He was mad because the chippies usually chased him. I guess he was trying to take the
high
plane.
school, and there's a nice big pond out there that they named Memorial Pond. And they were having a problem with the geese crapping in the stadium.
Right.
The Board of Health was going after the Board of Health and says, well, hey, you can't have that. That's people, playing football and practicing and soccer and so we decided, let's go over there and we'll fly in the morning before school. 10 or 12 people of all those
Still?
Yeah.
I was up in
Somebody else was
Alaska.
killed too.
I was up in Alaska, and I know the whole story on that. One of them is a wildlife photographer. You're talking the Kodiaks. They will kill you. Your food.
That's the exception. This guy was in his tent. Recharged. The bear knew it and dragged him out and killed him. That is the exception. The Kodiak bears will kill you for food because they view you as food source.
They don't, well, yeah, if you're on their island.
If you're anywhere there, yeah, and that's what happens.
Does this happen in
The wild,
When you come down here,
they will. But black bears around here, they're not just going to attack a person, like you said. There's a reason. Cubs, yeah, but by nature they wouldn't. They generally don't attack you, which is the black one. Kodiaks,
most of the browns don't either.
No, the Kodiaks in Alaska, believe me, they're and the polar bear will.
yeah.
Yeah.
Polar bear will. I mean, Alaska, if you've ever seen a stuffed bear, you're looking at something 10, 11 feet.
The animal so much. And when he got back to Anchorage.
Yeah. They're scared, but around here, I agree, it's a shame, but, their conservation efforts in Pennsylvania really paid off. Get them here, there's not enough land, what are you going to do? You gotta thin the herd, which is good for the herd. The same thing with deer. These idiots think, oh, it's cool killing deer. Well, it's really not, because you're thinning out the herd. They can only support X number of deer.
If you go back to the late 60s in Vermont, it was always a referendum on the ballot. Do you want to have a doe season? And the good Vermonter said no. Not really. Missing chicken.
Or deer.
Deer. I used to do a lot of business out in Idaho. And I became friendly quite by accident with the guy who worked
Yes, I would. Yeah.
what was the official department? It wasn't Fish and Game, it was Wildlife in Venice. Okay. And he said the only reason...
Hey, this guy's got a little light on the nose of the plane. Look at this. That's very cool.
When the lithium goes down so far.
Oh, okay. This is a lithium battery?
Yeah.
Oh.
That hurt. They weren't spying for the bullet, but I was shooting for the plane. I wasn't shooting to go over the limb. I was shooting for the plane.
Some housewife comes running out with an arrow in her head.
Oh, it was really high.
Okay, George, get over here.
Oh,
Shit, I mean sick.
look at this. Now, this is Demet technology. Look at this.
No, this is left over from the team trials. Is what this is.
I am very impressed, Les. Now, he's got 2 chairs and there's 3 of us, so where's he going to sit, George? You can always tell who has a job where they sit down at work, don't you?
See the guy he's got in here?
Let's see. Oh, that's cool. Now, what is this little? This is the radio here?
That's the receiver.
And this is the servo.
This is the servos.
Oh, man.
It's a magnetic coil.
Yeah.
It's
Sergio showed that at our club meeting, our control line club meeting. Look at the size of the switch. That's what I need for the B-25. You wouldn't even see it. I was trying to hide the switch. I put it up in the gear wells.
Lithium cell. But there's another one that the guy made. His buddy George. Chuck's buddy George is the one that makes these things up. And he's got a little smaller model, but the man looks so real in that one.
He's got it up now. Oh, he's got this one going. Look at how slow this flies, George.
This was
Look at this. You could walk faster than this.
Oh, what do they call that foam? Depron. Depron or something?
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I was going to say, even if it was cardboard, when the
This is, I don't know if you can see how slow this is going. This is going like 5 miles an hour. Look at this.
Oh, yeah.
That is wild. Les, I can't believe it's flying that slow.
On with a magnet. I didn't know that.
Yeah. With a magnet?
Well, there's one in the wing and one.
That's it. Look at that.
That is definitely cool.
They've been
Let's see a snap roll.
Several different sizes.
All right.
One guy's got a big one, and it goes slow.
Imagine a guy sitting there flying somebody's airplane.
How you doing?
Someone? See, I'm mounting the wings now with magnets. Yeah, I just slowed it. I don't know, something. I can try out different wings. Like indoor wings, outdoor wings.
It goes on with a magnet. I love that. That's absolutely cool.
Where do you hook the switch when you
I'll show you. There, now that will go right down there. Now this, I don't know if this battery has any charge in it.
How many cells you
Either.
I mean, you don't charge it when you
Hook the guy's hand up with the stick so it moves.
I don't show up with charge forever. They don't discharge like an iPad, so
Yeah, but it might have been discharged when I...
One of my motor mounts where you
Are they really 95?
Magnets, Les.
It says on
Yeah, I
your
see that.
It says 950.
Let's see if you can hit the guy with the camera. You know, through the viewfinder, you can see the guy's eyes blinking. Oh, that's that red light. View control.
YOU control.
No, up at the Neat Fair when they had the indoor session, somebody had a little, like, one of those.
Well, I tell you, miniaturization of electronics. Tell me what's not possible. I see what happened here.
Fiber strip through the fuse.
Okay.
Carbon fiber strip through
Now
the
let me
wing.
see how that.
That's the wing spar. Some of the guys are basically,
That's just a blue phone.
with a carbon fiber strip, but some people are basically making the spar into an I-beam with a
another strip on top.
strip on the top and a strip
Do
on
you
the
really
bottom.
need it though?
In some cases, maybe you do, but in this case, it's because this is just that building foam, the insulator.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are building profile airplanes.
Oh my goodness.
You know, with the balance control services.
Look at this. Is that it? You guys are finished? I'm here and you guys are going home?
You're just in. Where's the pizza? Hey,
How you doing?
hey, Paisan, I thought you were bringing 2 pizzas.
I started mine.
Oh, you can tell.
But the thing is, you know,
always picking on me.
a lot of guys are adapting the GWS gearboxes to higher performance motors too.
Now, what motor is that?
I don't know what he has in here, but this kind of looks like just a regular can motor.
Okay.
But I mean,
The throwaway type.
yeah, but
That's roughly like an 049, is that safe? But look at how big the prop is.
No, that's probably like an 09, I would,
Okay,
judging by the size of the prop.
Boy, that's a cute little gearbox, huh?
Take it easy. Take it
but
easy.
this is like an 11.7 prop on here.
Yeah, I see.
So,
I can't complain. Good.
so you know, what do you equate that with?
Houston. You may be
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
In other words, it should turn it enough so it's going to fly.
Yeah, well, obviously it does.
With this gearbox and this motor, I don't think it'll hang vertical though. It doesn't have that kind of power, but it'll fly the plane around more or less as your typical aerobatic airplane.
Yeah. I know you've got ailerons, right?
Fly like this.
Now, I look at the mass of that model, that looks like a, a 15 or an 09 to 15 control line size model, maybe a little bit bigger.
What do you think a PA would do about
But the thing is, it is relatively lightweight.
Oh, yeah,
It kind
right.
of falls in line with some of the stuff you got.
That does. It just velcros in place. You want to be on the high point of the airfoil.
How about here? You're pretty sure here, aren't you?
The high point is the low point.
Boy, if that isn't a Billy Warridge airfoil, I don't know what is.
See, I made that groove and that little jig that I made half a groove.
Chuck is the builder of
The engineer?
Somebody on the internet gives you the plans.
I think Mike has
So you can take the plans, and then you have somebody like Chuck, cuts it down, he made the templates, right?
Yeah.
So now you...
Here we go. Here we go. Boy, look at it. No, I heard that spin up and I said, yeah, me too. Thought he was coming in for adventurous. We'll find out if he has enough carbon fiber in that wing.
Like a little low, you can cut the grid.
Circular products are a little low under that.
way up high, you know.
Doesn't have much rain, so I can't take it far away.
Doesn't have rain?
Now, after a great electric fly-in day, Wes has the updated. These are the latest ones with the little modifications you made?
Yeah, we're leaving a little bit more in the corners.
Right. You made a bigger radius.
Bigger radius, and we left a little more meat in the trailing edge.
Just to remind people, and of course we did this a while back, this is our test wing, and it's glassed, and then once it's glassed, we core it out. Well, this one is glassed. We haven't cored it out yet, but we wanted to change the coring slightly. And so Les had made some plywood pieces to just add to the plug-on templates, and we're hoping this Sunday we can see Johnny Duncan or Noel or both. And yeah, I remember you changed the radius on it some.
Yeah, and
and then this basically will be ready.
We attempted to leave a little more meat.
And of course then we have all the other wings. We're going to try to sheet some of them up today, and hopefully we're going to get this whole thing started rolling now that the weather is gone. Boy, that weather changed in a second, huh? Yesterday night was like stun heaven, and this morning it looks like it's going to snow. The old radiuses and the new radiuses, where we're going to leave a little more material, and most of all in the trailing edge, which we found we needed that. Without that amount in the trailing edge, it really got too soft, and we had to plug it with a piece of foam. So with these now permanent glued together, we're ready to, well, they're ready for Johnny. When he's ready to core that wing will be ready to go. It's cored. If Johnny can core this during the week, we can assemble this wing. This wing is...
No, I'll tell you what I want to do. Tomorrow, even if you're not going to be around, I'll come down to the shop, and I'll put hopefully tonight I'll finish the landing gear clips. Remember, I want you to get those on tape.
Okay.
Landing gear
well, if we're going to make more than one here.
Well, I'm saying tomorrow we can skin the other wing and hopefully fiberglass it. Oh, wait a minute, that's cored already, so we don't have to fiberglass it.
No.
But tomorrow I'll come and in other words, we don't have to have, the one I have at home, we don't have to have ready for Johnny Duncan.
No. Johnny's not going to deal with that one.
Right, because that's cored already.
But what we have to do today is get, this one is glassed on one, both of them
Both are glassed on one side.
So we got to just true up the leading edge, just dust sand the other side. We got to do a glassing operation here.
Yeah, but first we got to do
We got to dress that off. Okay.
Dress that off.
Hey, and by the way, I've been using this block every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, see if you can get about 10 more of these. Well, smaller, bigger, wider. These are so handy. This is unreal how nice it is. And if you find that woodwork of paradise with that sticky sandpaper.
I got it.
You got it?
I got rolls of it at home.
Okay.
I put a roll of each.
That's the only thing I didn't have in stock here for our wing production day.
All right. Well, what are we doing? What's our next step here? We got to...
Yeah, just dress it off with sandpaper. I'll work on one, you work on it, and we'll glass the other two. We'll glass the other two sides. I'll be ready. So as soon as Johnny cores these, we'll have two sets of wings. We can put the bell cranks in and everything.
Exactly.
And we'll get some idea how these are going to work out.
Big end. What do you want to do? Oh, no, it goes in the other cradle, stupid. You want to work on the top.
Let's go make him a cup of coffee. He doesn't look like he's awake today.
I am awake, believe me. My blood
he does not look awake.
My blood pressure had to be 600 or 1,000 when I left Morrow Hall.
Oh. Les is getting involved in political issues here. I'm not going to touch this.
No, just trying to comply with what they want.
Oh, man.
What do I use?
Let's make wings. And after a beautiful week, we get to what looks like it's going to snow out here. Oh, man. Disappointing weather. Now, Karen, never want to pass a garage sale without stopping. What do we have here?
This is an estate sale.
Oh, It isn't a garage sale, it's an estate sale.
Little fancier.
Okay. Bob Veal is going to be over here later to appearance point your what is this, a headboard? All right, look at those nicely carved details. Oh, yeah. So what did this set us back? $2? $5?
$5.
What do you think, I'm made of money?
$5 and $25 worth of paint.
Labor doesn't count. It's a labor of love. It's like our life, a labor of love.
Yes.
Here later, she's going to have a complete headboard ready for antique faux finishing.
That's right.
Hey. Just so the next layer, when it comes around, Les is sanding down that edge.
Ooh,
That's where that big block came in handy, but we only got one of them. 4 less glasses this side of the wing. What's a good idea? There's a lot of different ways to do it, but we had some seams that were hard. So it's good to sand the seam in this direction, just the seam, and do all the other sanding in this direction.
Here's the area where it was most
You found that? It was right out here. Yeah. Oh, you got it now.
Yeah, but right here I think is still another pass.
Because if you have a low spot, it's not too bad. But a high spot, you're going to get, when we're sanding, it's going to go through the glass. That's what I'm afraid of. That's a soft pad that he's got wrapped around a hard pad. And what are you saying, it was 600? 500, 600? 600, okay.
And it's, believe it or not, it's creating a very nice...
Yeah. Just before we do the glass, this is something, before you do any glassing, you want to get this off.
Yep.
Because this winds up in the fiberglass and you wind up making yourself a sheet of sandpaper.
We'll vacuum it the way we always do.
Get a real good vacuum before we set up for the glass, and we'll be able to glass 2 panels at once here. Boy, will that be handy. Then if you want, while these 2 are drying, what do we have to do on that other panel? Just sheet it?
Which?
The other panels need sheeting?
Those are, no, we got to find out how much sheeting we have.
Oh, see if you have enough.
The next one I want to sheet is the one that has the landing gear clips in it.
Okay. But you don't have that here?
No, I'll bring that. I'll bring that with the pieces tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll videotape putting the landing gear clips together with the aluminum.
And sheeting it. Okay.
And then sheeting it.
Okay. That's usually the one thing most people have trouble with, is getting the gear clips in. But that one's already cored the traditional way, so we don't have to worry about that.
We don't have to worry about ultimate completion.
This will also give you an idea of what the gear clip operation adds. In other words, if we've made any progress, it'll be in these wings. We weighed the stuff in the carbon wing, Les.
Yeah.
It weighs just under an ounce, all the parts you need to add to the carbon wing to put gear clips in.
Oh.
And that's about what it adds to it, you know, any wing, an I-beam wing even.
This 9 months and 2 days later, on 18 March 1945, shit. The Dauntless was made, that was the original name of the Sky Raider. The Dauntless was made to replace what? One of the Grumman planes, I think.
Maybe the Avenger. TVF? No, they weren't dropping torpedoes.
A late World War II carrier plane.
Anyway, the reason we got into this trivia, here's a good trivia question. If you have a B-25, somebody wrote into Dubjet that they wanted to make a scale warbird, and they wanted to have one engine turned backwards, so they would be counter-rotating. No, it was a B-17, and he wanted 2 engines that turned one way, 2 engines turned the other way, and his question was, do the engines turn in at the fuselage or away from? And the answer is, as Trivia King here knows, a B-17, all the engines turn in the same direction. A B-25, they turn in the same direction. An A-26, and the reason was they wanted to be able to replace engine for engine. So even though there would have been a performance gain, well, they wouldn't be able to put the right engine in the left engine as they got shot up. But there's an exception to that, and of course it's the P-38. The P-38 has unique engines and they do counter-rotate, but it's, as far as I know, at least in our trivia collection here, it's the only one of the twin warbirds that has counter-rotating props to be perfectly scale.
We're working in the cradle and we don't really want to epoxy the wing into the cradle.
Well, if you do, you're going to have a lot of sanding or foam before we get to use it again.
True.
So what Les has is ordinary...
What I haven't done is given much forethought to to how we make this really adhere to the foam, but I don't know that that's
Tape will hold it.
all that.
Actually, we could use Teflon if Midgley was here. We could use that roll of thin stuff he has, but this is good enough.
Yeah,
You're only protecting if you get, and you're not going to get any. You're not going to get a quart of it going under there.
true.
Right, so the purpose of this is just going to be protect the side that already is
Yeah,
fiberglass.
this is so thin that even if there's a wrinkle in it,
I got a neat idea for you too, Les. You know what you could do is, because we're doing so many of these, take one set of these cores that we don't need and cut an inch off the front and back, so while it's being supported, you can wrap it and get underneath there with a rag and everything.
when we
It's-
finish this one, let's cut these cores
yeah,
that way.
yeah, make a set.
Yep.
Just for that purpose, because we're going to do it over and over, just, you know, sacrifice one set of it, that's all.
All right, so now we're pretty much prepared with that.
Okay, may as well get them both set up at the same time. We're going to do two at once
Where'd
here.
be the other one? When we send this wing up to be cored, we get a hold, which I'll just throw a note in there, ask John to cut us two more sets.
Well, one thing I know for sure, this is going to be a usable wing. This is not an experiment in any way. That airfoil,
The airfoil.
and Dave Downey, you know this is going to work.
We know the airfoil works.
And we've got enough of these in the air already. We know this is going to be a usable thing.
All right, so this one is done. So now let's take the panel we're working on,
Yeah, make sure you get the right.
cut some, this one goes right in there.
Right, okay.
Cut some E-glass, as a matter of fact, for right now, E-glass.
Now, what is it that you wanted to try? You want to try taping off the front edge?
Actually taping off the leading edge on the already finished, on the underside, and
Okay.
the trailing edge the same, so that when it comes to finishing the edges with the epoxy, we don't get, we don't get...
You have a handle. Yeah, you have a
don't get
handle.
the pucker and everything else.
Okay. Yeah, that's well, it can't hurt to try, that's for sure.
Yeah, if we find it if we find it not workable.
Well, it'll be nice it'll be like the equivalent of a handle, like a silk screen almost.
Man, what's hot?
It doesn't move. I'll tear tape for you.
Oh.
It's glued to the table just for this reason. And what Wes is doing is, we've cut the piece, and he's just tacking the glass up here. This might be a really neat way to do it. But we're not going to find out until we actually make a test panel. Like everything we do, there's no substitute for making a panel. If you're a cook, there's no substitute for making a souffle and seeing if you like it.
It's interesting because you can actually use the wing to hold the glass in place while you tape it. Oh, not good. All right.
Well, you'll be able to release these and take any wrinkles out if you,
Yeah.
if you wanted to do that. That would be fine. Yeah. Now you can flip it and do the leading edge.
One more
Yeah.
piece.
Flip it now. Now, do you have it nice and smooth?
Not bad.
How's the headboard coming, Car?
Well, I gave it one cut, it took me exactly an hour.
Okay. And how much? You got enough bin Zinsser left? Okay.
But it's not ready, so I'm gonna need you to find a table or something to put my other two pieces on.
Okay, I'll get one for you. Well, let me get Wes set up here, and then he can, we can take a little break. We're multitasking today. Les, you're wonderful at multitasking. A man who can build 7 planes at once, restore a headboard to its original condition,
Well,
keep his wife happy. Boy, that's the hardest part of all. Right, Car? Right. Keep those dolls coming in. Now, you're going to have enough material up there?
What did he tell you that I have a trigger finger?
yeah.
She was diagnosed with a trigger finger. I don't know if she's fooling around with some guy that gives gun lessons. I've been real suspicious of Les. I want to know his whereabouts at all times. See if he has trigger finger too, Oh, man. Okay. All right, so what that's done, that's put the material hopefully in place.
Well,
And,
enough of it. I need one more.
Another one?
Yeah. Matter
There we
of
go.
fact,
You want to wrap it around the edge even?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
The more
This can't hurt. I mean, I don't see any way this can be worse than...
No, at least it's going to keep the cloth from running around on you while you're doing the... Let me have a piece.
Well, you could do that thing that I've seen other guys in RC do. They very lightly spray the thing with contact cement, so it just dusts it.
Right.
And then drop it on like a piece of fly paper.
One more.
And that holds it in place. I've seen guys...
In fact, two more.
I think on George Sparr's video they show that. I'm not sure.
What do you think?
I had the best luck, absolutely the best luck using West Systems. With the pumps, you can't measure it wrong. Now, I use West Systems in several other formulas for other jobs. There's certain things this is not really good for, like making props. Props made with this are not what you want to do, but for glassing a wing, glassing a nose, this is the material of choice. Okay, Chicky's taking a hike. Get out of there, Chicky. We're going to glue you to the plane. Now, see, this is nice, and we even have another upgrade. After he finishes this wing, we're going to try something else. What happens as you're working on stuff like this, especially if Les and I are both trying to outdo each other with some great ideas to change the world? He likes to call himself Orville, and I'm Wilbur, but I think Mo and Larry seem more appropriate. Anyway, mixing the resin, when you think it's mixed, you mix it 2 minutes more. That's the magic formula. You can pour it on the wing any way you want and trowel it off. The glass is already in place. This tape thing might be nice when you're doing a nose, you know, Les? I'm just thinking.
Just thinking of in place.
Now, from this little thing, what we thought would be worth trying is making like a silk screen where you lay the glass on a table and put tape around the edge, and then you can actually cut it right in the middle of the tape or at the end of the tape. You won't have it moving. And then you can tape the tape down. That would give you a little, like a window box effect. Again, we'll find out. It's never, the thing with any of these experiments, it's never worse than the time before when you did it the hard way. You can always go back to the hard way.
Good mix. Gloves.
Okay, right under the saran wrap. Always use gloves with any resin. That's a given. The reason for using gloves is the chemicals in epoxy can get absorbed through the skin. They get absorbed through little cuts or around your cuticles or whatever. It's really not a good idea to be having it on your skin.
You going to a lady proctologist? These are smaller than the other ones.
Oh, you got some? No, they're large.
They are?
Well, I see right on a box it says large. You gained weight.
Yeah, right in my
Chicky gained weight here. His gloves don't fit. My pants don't fit in your gloves. What's wrong with this picture? I gotta buy all new pants. My pants are so tight. The trick that I always use is I use these flux brushes and I get them from.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Pour away. Is to put a little tape on the end because it's like a razor blade and it tends to cut through the gloves.
Too heavy a pour for me.
Too heavy a pour. There's less pours away. I would pour it. You're gonna have to trowel it off anyway.
Yeah, right.
There you go, trowel guy. That's why we pay you the big money.
Yeah, right. Oh, look at the big leak we got here already.
Good thing you got that stuff down there. Okay, you got it. You're working around the edge. And the last thing will be you'll get the trowel it off cold, and then we'll trowel it off hot. When we're all done, there should be very, very little resin left. Springtime, it's just soaking in. What's good about having a mass amount, it soaks in. Then when we trowel it off and heat it, we get nothing but that real skim coat on there. I think the tape worked out pretty good. This was a pretty good idea.
Your idea, Wendy, with the laying the
making a silk screen panel out of it
would be even better.
Well, hey, even this is better. You know, we may even come up with something better than a silk screen panel. See, that's what I like about doing this kind of work, is coming up with these little gizmos and little ideas. And
as you know, anything that makes the job easier, one, and gives you a cleaner finished product that you don't have to sand, for 2 nights.
Exactly. It either makes it better, it makes it faster, it makes it lighter, or all of the above. Or just more fun, which really counts into the equation in my case. It's the number one thing. If this isn't fun, I think you should start applying at Home Depot.
All right.
Okay, were you ready for troweling?
Yeah, ready for troweling.
You get almost all of it off. It's amazing how much of it comes off. Use a clean spatula. There you go.
And you get perfect fill on the grain.
But most of all, you get that the wood is now not going to absorb 6 to 8 coats of dope before you are ready to put tissue on. And fuel proof, it goes without saying. You're not going to get any, even if you never wipe the plane off in the life of the plane. If it's glass, you'll never have, fuel will not go through that epoxy. That's as fuel proof as it gets. Now usually what we do is we trowel off as much as you can get off dry, and then we'll go to heating it just a little bit with a hairdryer on a low setting, warm it. The test on all heating of epoxy is the minute you see a bubble, you shut the heat off. Even the tiniest bubble, because you're at the point where it's not going to get any thinner. It's just going to make bubbles. And you don't want to have bubbles in the final finish, or spots where it's going to tentatively maybe delaminate. See how little is left on, even dry. Even if you didn't use the heat method, just the last little bit you get off with the trowel.
Now, I would say I have about a ½ ounce of epoxy in the cup right now.
You know what we could have done? We could have weighed the cup. And when we're done, weigh it again. I didn't think that. We'll do that on the next panel. Yeah, because we're going to do we're going to do 2 of these, one right after another.
You know what? Nope, don't do it that way, Les. You're going to upset.
I think what we should have done, is work from pour more of it in the middle and then work to the edge.
That's coming off.
Okay, well you don't want to take it all off. That's the other,
Yeah, I know.
You can see how much we've already gotten off. We'll weigh it on the next shot, just for laughs. And now you can pull that up and wrap the leading edge if you really want to. But having that saran wrap underneath the or wax paper or tin foil or something, otherwise that core would be a mess right now.
Really bearing down, because as you say, you got to leave some.
Yeah, and you want some to sand. You don't want to touch it with sandpaper and go right into the hairs.
And now,
figure this out. He can't decide what he wants to eat. He's got so many choices. Let's see, do I want some Orchard Oreo nectar? Do I want a cake? Do I want grapes? Sliced and diced oranges? Oh yeah, life is cruel, Chickie. Living here in Afghanistan is really tough. Look at this, he can't decide. Poor baby. Poor baby. Yeah, go ahead.
all right.
Okay, now you need me to hold it up, and you can take some, see over here, take some alcohol on I'll get some alcohol on it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Just so you don't get a globberoo on there.
All right, well what are we doing?
The next step is we're going to try to make this even better. We're going to try to make a picture frame of masking tape around the part. So it acts like a silk screen, if you've ever seen how they do a silk screen. And then we're going to cut the glass around it, and then use that to wrap around the other side. So we have, it more or less acts as a handle or a guide so we can stretch the cloth nice and tight. Again, we're going to try different things. The only way that I know to upgrade any technology is you just got to do it, and 90% of the things don't work, but the 10 that do, worth every penny. Like you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you before you find a princess or something. Okay, we have the tape around. Now next step is going to be just cut the glass, leaving the tape on. And the tape should hold it in place. Okay, so Les has cut this up. With the tape,
scissors and with a razor blade.
Well, he found out you can cut it with scissors or with a razor, both. Either way is fine. Okay.
Now, lesson learned from last panel.
Let's put some newspaper down first.
Yeah, but...
Not that we're sloppy.
The other thing. Oh, really?
Not that we ever drop any on the floor. But isn't it easier to handle that glass with the tape on it?
It's great. It's absolutely great.
I was even thinking of a thing, you know what we could do is get like 4 yardsticks of balsa wood and, you know, make a real silkscreen panel and just drop it down. That might be something worth trying.
Yep.
To tape the saran wrap into the core.
Because last time what happened,
it moved around.
It shuffled and buckled a little, and we can do without that.
Okay. If the core's in it, then you'll have exactly the right amount of material when you go to pull it to the front.
Perfect. Now we're cooking with friggin' propane here. Again, no tension, just a little something to hold it. That ain't gonna work, dude. You're better off leaving that. Plain and simple. Okay. It is. Don't want to wrap it.
Yeah, now what we did, this is this Teflon tape that we got from Dave Midgley. Of course, we use it on the mold for the carbon wings. But this part here is, the idea is any resin that drops around, it won't stick and we'll have a nice edge when we're done. Again, we're going to try it, see if it's worth doing. I think you could use regular masking tape, because who cares if you're gonna just hit that with sandpaper once and that glass is gone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Pull anything up. It's really not real sticky.
It's,
I mean, it isn't sticking to the part that's already glassed.
No, right. What's interesting is when you go to poke it with a knife, it stretches before it, so it must be pretty tough stuff with a lot of elasticity.
Now, Les and I thought of also making a little fixture that we could rotisserize these. We could spin it, start at the trailing edge and just spin the wing and do the whole thing in one piece. That might be coming on the next set of wings. We don't know. We'll see if Les comes up with any bright ideas. It really wouldn't be hard to make that.
No.
Oh, okay. All right, so now you're just going to tape that, spin it around. This looks like it works so well on the first wing. I'm thinking this is going to be worth doing on every wing from now on.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to give it a, because this is...
You can tape the whole thing.
Well, no, there's no sense in taping the whole thing, because the tape that's on there already gives it a rigid enough edge.
Yeah, boy, it's a lot easier than handling a free-floating piece of glass cloth, that's for sure.
Okay,
well, let's live and learn. If you get most of it in the middle and brush toward the edges, I think that's the trick.
Right.
And once you get it half spread out like a checkerboard, just trowel it.
We didn't weigh it.
Well, you can weigh another ounce of it and just throw it away. Or the next time we weigh something. Weigh what's there, and then next time you weigh up an ounce. The pumps meter out exactly an ounce anyway. This way is really working well. Even Les concurs. This is like a really big update over the way we've been doing it in the past.
I mean, it eliminates the...
And because we have so many of these to do, just anything we can do to save the sand out. We got these to work on. We got more over by the bomber. Anything you can do, you spend an hour trying to come up with a solution, and you save time ultimately in the end. I'm sure you do. Well, I certainly think we learned something from working on this project.
Well, if nothing else, it's a better way to glass wings, you know.
Well, not only that, it's glass anything, yeah.
You don't have a lot of fiberglass threads.
Well, I'm sure the sand out is going to be a fraction of the time, that's for sure. Those are glass, both of those are drying up. The A26 is sitting there drying the tail. We're waiting for, well, Les is going to just lightly sand. This is another set of cores we're going to make up. These are just lightly sanded. And you have the set, we had 4 altogether. You got the set with the gear blocks.
That's at home.
This set, okay, so by the end of this,
by tomorrow night, we're going to have 4 wings hopefully ready to go.
Well, 2 of them Johnny's going to have to core.
Right, you're only going to have to have 2, and we got those done already. Anytime you get a foam wing, it's good to just get it as smooth as possible with a sanding block. And then, next step, vacuum it, vacuum it, vacuum it, vacuum it forever.
Appear to have all of the nerbings off.
Most important thing whenever you have a problem is that the wing, if you don't vacuum everything off, that dust gets in the glue and it makes lumps and doesn't dry right. What we need is to spend an hour or so later or whatever cleaning up all these sanding blocks. That'd be a good thing to put on a video too. A lot of people don't know the easy way to make sanding blocks. Well, we have a box with sand. You can see how many thousand, and they're all used. Every one of my tools is used. We don't have any big, pretty, shiny chrome tools. Everything has got worn edges, but we need to go back over these. And it's probably good in the beginning of every building season, because we're going to be putting... How many bodies are you going to make for these planes?
We need 4, right?
Okay, we need 4 bodies, so... Well... And this with sticky back 220, but unfortunately we're out of it. But we'll rectify that very soon. Just to use that brush. Always use your good household vacuum. Pete, you got any pressure? Huh? Have you got enough pressure? All right. This is the step you don't want to leave out, the vacuum in the cores. That's the step that... When you sand the skins and you sand the cores, vacuum, 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 vacuum. That's the most important thing. Do we have the wood sanded already? Oh. We got to sand the wood too, okay.
I haven't touched those skins.
Now, because this set of wing cores is already cored, we're going to just use the traditional method and just use 16th balsa. So this will more or less be a traditional set, and then we have our experimental sets. We actually have 2 of each. Wes wanted me to remind you is you got to sand the cores too, because the dust, actually you got to sand the, vacuum the table and everything. It really is important. That's the one thing, when somebody has a problem doing foam wings, you find out they don't do enough sanding. Vacuum, 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 vacuum. The man's a vacuuming maniac. You got that? These are pretty nice sheets. These are the ones you got from Northwest Balsa or Northeast Balsa?
United?
United Balsa.
Up in Massachusetts.
Okay, these really work nice.
Springfield, yeah.
Just try to get all the seams sanded out. We'll get these totally vacuumed and we're ready to sheet. Now we already pre-tested the cans of glue, and we know which ones melt foam and which ones don't. Well, we hope we do.
No, we know. Believe me,
we know.
Melted enough.
We melted half of the foam in New Jersey in the last year.
Packing.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Styrene, but the
That's true. Now we even though we've tested the foam, we know it's not going to melt the foam. Now let's make sure we get.
You just sprayed the wrong.
No, we sprayed the wrong side.
Go spray the other side.
Oh.
Come on. We don't have... Gotta respray.
All right, we'll retack it. Now, I want you to know, we never screw things up.
This is just a new technique we're trying.
Yeah, a new technique of do everything double.
Twice as fast.
Twice as much work and half as fast. We've just invented something really important here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just goes to show you. Okay, now that we've corrected our mistake and make sure everybody knows we are not the perfectionists we claim to be. In fact, we're downright phonies when you come down.
Together, we're the dyslexic model bill.
The gang that couldn't foam straight. Okay. Okay, the glue's at tack stage. Russ is going to show us yet one more way to increase your enjoyment of the world of model aviation.
Yes.
Okay. I don't remember which plane I was building, but I dropped one into the sheeting and I said, oh, you know it's not coming off. I could hear thousands of people laughing. Oh, that's dope. Line it up.
Okay.
Okay. Give it a press and give it a roll. Give it a roll and we got another wing. Alright, now we'll see how quickly you can trim those leading and trailing edges, and we'll get the leading edge on this and put it away.
Well, I'm not at this, but I mean, this was
This is for recovery. Now, normally what I like to do is immediately put the leading and trailing edges on, but we're going to, because of time restraints, and Les is going to have to go soon.
Top right.
We're going to, lay this in a core overnight.
Yeah,
we'll put it up on a bar.
What am I doing? What has transpired?
He needs more coffee. Put this to dry overnight and do leading edges tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're also, if we can, we're going to muster some weight for this.
Yeah, we'll just put quart cans of Brodak dope on it.
Where are
That's
we
right.
going to put it?
Definitive answer. How much Brodak dope does it take to crush a foam wing? I'm not sure.
We did more damage with trying to peel that shit up than...
Just for something that we've never shown on camera yet. We're going to do one without screwing up or putting it on backwards or having to do it over or...
You know that's not going to happen.
If this camera goes off, everything will go smooth as glass.
Yeah, right.
That's the truth, too. All right, let's rock them. Scientific calculation, how much Brodak dope should be on, and he did it in quarts and pints and millimeters and... No, I don't think he's as smart as he really says he is. Anything today? Or?
Yeah.
That glassing thing is
important thing, exactly.
The glassing is perfect, yeah. I think if I got a little time while Karen's still outside, I'll sand the glass out on this.
He's
my trailing edge. Hey, don't get
Not
too
yet.
cute. Tomorrow, I'll be sanding them while you're...
Feel that.
Yeah, how much are you going to sand? Try to bring some of that sticky back paper tomorrow. Sticky back 220, and we'll do the sand outs tomorrow.
Nice.
So the first panel is ready to go back to Johnny. Wes is going to try to stop by if he can. Sand up the other two panels. That'll give us two sets of wings, because one we already have cored and done. I always like to use a very small block when I'm doing the final sanding on West resin. Maybe I'll try to get some of this on a close-up. But in a V configuration, the one thing I don't want to do is remove a lot of material right in the seam. So I'm being real careful. And if I had a choice, I would like the wood to be relatively thin out here, but I don't want to remove anything in the middle. This is where this is going to take like a beating, I guess is the right word. But the West System resin really sands out beautifully. You can even see on a close-up. But I don't want to get, and on a part like where it comes to a V on the top, you sure don't want to be blocked. In other words, the thing you don't want to do is block sand this. You take away that seam. And I remember, I think Mike Rogers or somebody built a plane where they sanded right through the seam so the glass had no middle. And that's why it's a good idea to put that extra little strip right down the middle. So if I'm sanding here, I'll kind of sand right up to it and just touch it. But I'm never really going right on the last 64th of an inch. Because you're not going to see this, it's going to be in the middle of the fuselage anyway. Now we all know many foam wing planes, including of course this Dave Fitzgerald's plane, a lot of Bill Rich's planes, a lot of my planes. Foam wings have been capable of winning the Nats forever. They've always been competitive. Our B-25 was a foam wing. The A-26 is going to be a foam wing. There's a lot of advantages to a foam wing, but there's a lot of little tips we can sum up here in a very few sentences. Red Baron was a foam wing. When people build a foam wing and it comes out too heavy, there's usually some very simple explanations. Just a few of the tips that have helped us make competitive wings. You need light wood when you make a foam wing. You can't make a foam wing with 8-pound wood because there's a lot of wood. But even if you do, we have a couple of tips on how to make that even better. Most of the wings that I've done with contact cement have come out a lot. In my feeling is that they're lighter, but some people say no. Well, I've had it both ways, and I think the contact cement is, for me, the easiest and lightest way to go. And here's the biggest tip, and this is the one that separates probably the planes that win the Nats or are very competitive, or world champion planes have been certainly foamed. There's plenty of them. But it's in the sanding and all the tips of sanding. And I'm just going to go a couple of obvious ones right now. Not everyone, but a couple. So some of the tips that we've used: super light wood, super light leading edge wood and trailing edge wood. Les will be putting those on if he works on that project today. But the lightest possible wood. Then we also want to think, this is the part that's hard to convince people of. This amount of wood, you'd really like to leave, you know, as little sanding as it takes to get it smooth. This next third of the wing, and let's just pretend it's thirds because that's easy. Well, we could thin that wood out. We could sand it and make it a little bit thinner and thinner. Out at the tip, boy, we can make it as thin as possible. Now, we're not doing this with the glass wings, but with the normal foam wings, this is the way I would do it. I would take the sheeting, I've done this on, I think it was even on the tweener videos, and just put some pencil lines or ink lines on, sand them off to where they aren't there anymore. Now the second sanding, just put ink lines out here, sand them off. So ultimately, and I'll exaggerate this, you have sheeting that's 16th in the middle, but probably a lot closer to 32nd at the edge. Now these are all little, they seem like inconsequential tricks, but this is what makes a foam wing, that it's competitive in weight with any other type of wing. And now the biggest thing is to glass with ellipses. Put the joint in with what I call Band-Aid, and glass ellipses on the high point of the wing. And when you use this technology, you're going to have a wing that's every bit as competitive as typical built-up wings. And the finishing will go in a fraction of the time. There'll be no cap strips, no edges, no breaking through, nobody putting their finger through the silk span. So for a lot of modelers, foam wings are the way to go. We're using them, and the way we've built them, we've been able to make very competitive foam wing planes. And I hope those tips just give you a little tip of the iceberg as to what you can do with a foam wing. Just another foam wing plane. I remember people telling me, "Oh, I'm not going to build a foam wing plane. It's too heavy." So they go and build a Nobler type of wing, or whatever type of wing they want to build, an I-beam. And then halfway through the thing, they put so much dope on it and so many repairs that maybe in the end they came out being a tie, or maybe they even lost. I don't know. The point is, when you want to build planes in a hurry, and that's what Les and I are trying to do, we're trying to build several planes and not spend a lot of time, but we like to have the results that the planes are as light as they can be and competitive, of course, and I think they are going to be. And I think even if we don't use the glass technique, if we use the ordinary technique, the typical foam wings that John Duncan makes, they're going to be very competitive. Look back over the years, all of the Steve Busso designs that I saw, they had Pattern Masters, and just an unbelievable selection of foam wing planes that were all of Jimmy Casale's planes, very, very competitive. So you don't want to cheat yourself and think that the only planes you can build have to have these exotic high-tech wings. You can do a foam wing, you can be done in about a third the amount of time, especially when it comes to finishing, and have a relatively competitive plane. Many people already have done that, including us. What we try to make in the last couple of weeks is we've made carbon wings, and we certainly feel like there's a future in that for a segment of the hobby. There's foam wings that are competitive, these trick glass foam wings, and I better answer the phone. I think the only people that really cheat themselves out of things in the hobby is when you you're not willing to try more than one thing, or you've made your mind up ahead of time that a certain thing is not going to work or is going to work. I think you just limit the fun that you can have and the excitement of doing some of these things. And you shouldn't even limit yourself to one event or one thing or one. I mean, we really have enjoyed sharing the electric stuff with Sergio and his indoor footage from when we were in Lubbock. We've just enjoyed it all. Just so much more to life, so much more to modeling than just one little segment of an event or doing things one way over and over again. Just, in my case, I just love to explore all the possibilities. We're going to have to put the rings out in the truck. He's eating the foam. He just found out he likes to eat Hey! Hey! Yeah. So often what I like to do is just, and I've chosen today to do it, is just stand back, look around the shop and see the projects. We always have several projects underway at once. And see if I'm missing anything. You know, I really am attracted to so many events and so many different things in the hobby. Every minute I spend thinking about it is just more fun than the next. And in this case, this is the one that's kind of dominating me right now, but the electric plane I think about, and I think about the planes Les has designed, and we're going to have the plans for them probably in the next couple of days. And anybody would like to build along with us, just email Les for a set of the plans. I often wonder what life would be like without these adventures, if it'd even be an adventure at all. If all you did was get up, watch TV, and watch some of these crazy things that are on television, and then go to bed, get up, and every day becomes Groundhog Day. Modeling really makes it different. The thing about sharing my interest in modeling with people like Les that are always willing to try something new, try to experiment, try to figure out little better ways of doing things. It just makes the adventure even more intense. And when we find something that looks like it works, we're always willing to share it with you. Coming in the next year that we haven't even invented yet, we haven't even thought about yet or dreamed about yet. But I know there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And I have enjoyed this more than I could ever tell anybody or explain or write about. It has just been, model aviation is just a great sport. That's all there is to it. Discussion closed. Peeking before we end the video at how Karen's doing with her project. We'll show some of this on the next tape because she's rounding out the last coat of white on this, and then we're going to do the gold effects. Karen seems to enjoy. She's so talented she can talk on the phone while she's working. This has any other construction. If you've been watching along with our video subscriber series, you know that they've totally refinished their house. Done a beautiful job, just spectacular. They used about 5,000 sanding discs to sand this house down. Very impressive. It's really nice. And because we're at the end of the tape, I don't want to start the sand out of the wings or anything important. Something that you might want to have all on one tape. I like to end every day, if possible. A little trip up to my memory lane here. Check out my Spitfires, my Seafires, the Model Railroad. It's a great way to end the day. Just remember the years that Joe and I made these, and boy, just knowing we have all of that on video for anybody we have somebody, Jack Bryant, who's just started a Spitfire, and all the videos are available, even the ones painting around dells and ink lines and whatever. The foam wings, and I just forgot old Bob Barron, the late Bob Barron, and he had Bill Rich, Bob Barron. What a lot of good memories from this sport. Just unbelievable. And of course it's always good at the end of the day, run the trains for a half hour. That always seems to be a very relaxing way to end the day.
them up here, and I run the trains every